Our next guest has done something that is hard and rare in our industry, and that's take a project through to production. Alexco Resources is Canada's only primary silver producer. The company recently passed its 1-year production anniversary. CEO and chair is Clynton Nauman. Clint, welcome back to Kitco.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you for having me here. I have to say that, moving from explorer developer to developer producer is a significant step. It's fraught with speed bumps, as most people know, but doing it in a pandemic during a pandemic is an additional challenge, as I'm sure that everybody is aware. However, in the last 12 months, as you know, we've made that transition. We are into and scaling up production. But over the last 12 months, we initiated our mine plan, which is about 1.5 million tons of 800-gram silver material in the existing plan. And that's the forerunner to that was a deposit that was in production earlier that we used to spool up and commission the mill with the various modifications that we have made. And so over most of the year, we were mining from this Belkino deposit. We extracted about 18,000 tons from that deposit at better than 800 grams per ton silver with, 15, 16, 17% combined lead zinc. So it's a base metal rich silver deposit. And in addition to that, once that work was complete in the third quarter, we transitioned our production to the first of our 2 new deposits, the Birmingham deposit, and we extracted about 600,000 tons from that deposit at about 700 grams per ton with only 3 or 4% base metals. That's important, as I'll get to in a second here. The second new deposit, Flame of Moth, is still in development during 2021 and is moving to production actually this month. So at the end of the day, we milled about 30,000 tons of material in 2021 as we developed and spooled up this operation. Average grades were about 720, 730 grams per ton silver. We shipped maybe 4,500, 5,000 tons of concentrate. Lead concentrate, is 85 or 90% of our revenue. That concentrate contains about 5,000 grams per ton silver if we're mining from Belkino type deposits, but contains 17,000 grams per ton silver if you're mining from Birmingham type deposits, which makes that concentrate hugely valuable. So we shipped in concentrate more than 600,000 ounces in the year during this spool up process. Recoveries settling in around 93% for silver, with about 88 or 90% of the silver reporting to the lead concentrate. So, that's a lot to do in the course of a year. In addition to that, we have done about 1.2 kilometers of underground development in those combined 2 mines. We have a long hole stope online at Birmingham as we speak. And that Flame of Moth, the first stopes came online there early this year, and we'll have another couple of faces and stopes open in that mine within the next month or so. So, and then the other part of it is the workforce, of course. There's that a year ago when we were speaking, we had maybe 60, 70 people. We now have about 170 people, including contractors, in our workforce. It's a fly-in, fly-out operation. So, yes, there's been a huge amount of effort and work, and my hat is off to the team on site and our various managers for being able to bring us through this period. Our ultimate aim is 400 tons per day through the mill. And producing 4.5 million ounces of silver. The mill is spooling up towards that 400 tons per day as we speak, and hopefully in the first quarter we'll be there at design capacity at a sustained level. And then in addition to all of that, of course, we were doing exploration, and I'm sure that we'll talk about that as we move along here. So yeah, a hugely busy year. at Alexco, a transformational year to the production status, and once again, a huge thank you to our staff and employees who have, under challenging conditions, brought us to this point.
Congratulations, Clint. I mean, I followed the Alexco story for quite a while, and this past 2.5 years, it's been nothing but curveballs. But you noted when you're talking about the high exposure Alexco has to silver. Maybe you can explain why this is significant if an investor is deciding to invest in your company and, say, another silver miner.
Yeah, so I mean, Alexco is sort of characterized by 2 or 3 things. One is that it is a Canadian primary silver play, if you like. 75 to 80% of our revenues in our new mine plan here is going to be derived from silver. So it's about as pure a silver play as there is in the business. There are not too many silver players left. A lot of silver operators have diversified into gold and other materials, and do not have a subsidiary portion of their production in silver. So we are the only primary silver producer in Canada, and we have a high beta to silver. So that just exacerbates any volatility in the silver market in terms of the reflection in the value and share price of the company. So a lot of leverage in a small field and a pure play silver producer. So it's an important place to be, and we have every intention of consolidating and expanding our position in that space.
One of the advantages to be a producer is that helps fund exploration, Clint.
Yeah, so let me just pivot from that a little bit into our exploration in 2021. So we invested about 7,000 to 8,000 meters of exploration, and that was primarily in this Birmingham deposit. The Birmingham deposit itself is more than 1 million tons of better than 900 gram material. Had 40 odd million ounces of silver in all categories. And of that, 33 million is indicated. The work that we did in 2021 has expanded that deposit by more than 40% in the indicated category, more than 70% in the inferred category. And at higher grade. So, I mean, it's been a very successful exploration, period in 2021. And the size of that Birmingham deposit has increased from, more than 40 million ounces to now closing in on 70 million ounces. So if you look at the combined mine plan, or the 2 deposits that are going to be mined, the Birmingham and Flame of Moth deposit in the indicated category in those mines, we have about 70 million ounces, and there's another 20 million in inferred. So you're creeping up on 95, 98 million ounces of silver in those 2 deposits. So exploration has been hugely successful. And in getting to your question in terms of growing, of funding and growing that exploration, yes, I mean, the issue there is we will be very competitive on the all-in sustaining cost curve once we're at design capacity, and producing cash. So future exploration will come from that future cash flow. And we're looking forward to that. Meantime, though, we are not going to interrupt, our systematic exploration progression in this district.
Talk about the leadership team at Alexco, Clint.
So we are blessed with a very experienced and a team of people that have not only a lot of experience in the mining business, but especially in the underground mining business. We have a lot of expertise on the environmental side of the business. Keno Hill originally was in production, as most people know, 100 years ago. and we're charged with the responsibility of cleaning up any of the environmental liabilities that were left from that production. And we do that work for the federal government of Canada, for and with the federal government of Canada. And so we have a very diverse team of operators, explorers, environmental people, and financial people that have enabled us to get to this point.
Clint, how's the infrastructure?
We are, Keno Hill sits on the all-weather roads that stretch from Elsa and Keno City, which is which is ensconced within the middle of that district. Those all-weather roads stretch all the way to the southern mainland, to the mainland, and also to deepwater ports in Alaska, and a place called Skagway. So materials, come north on the roads. Concentrate goes south by ocean, transloaded at Skagway and onto barges, and the concentrate is shipped south from there. We're on the grid, the power grid, so we have very competitive energy costs, and we're fortunate that we also have other operators around us that have helped and spurred the effort by the Yukon government to upgrade both the roads and the power grid in our general area.
Tell us what the stakeholder community relations like and the First Nations.
So we have, as most people know, we are rejuvenating a historical mining district. So, our stakeholders are primarily Natchinayak Dun. We operate on the traditional territory of Natchinayak Dun First Nations, and we are within the communities of Mayo and Keno City. The most important thing about this, and we have the normal, relationships in place that are mutually beneficial, but the more important thing here is that there are a lot of people in all the stakeholder groups that are very familiar with and engaged, highly engaged with what's going on at Keno Hill. So I shouldn't neglect to mention, the ERDC. This is our reclamation company effort, working with the government of Canada and these stakeholders to clean up the district. That particular project is in its final permitting phase, and we'll move to the operating phase here within the next year or so. So that'll result in the offset of all of the historical liabilities that were incurred at Keno Hill, with Alexco, with ERDC, a subsidiary of Alexco, doing the work and also contributing along with the federal government to the ultimate cleanup and offset of all that liability.
Can you talk about your share structure, Clint?
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. We have about 155 million shares out, maybe 165 fully diluted. We don't have any debt at the present time, and we're pretty comfortable with our capital structure as it stands.
Lastly, Clint, you talked about an exploration program. You talked about upgrading production. What are some of the stock catalysts that investors can look for over the next 12 months?
Yeah, so that's really important, and especially as it goes to the growth of the company, right? So, your short-term catalysts are going to be sustainable 400 tons per day through the mill, cash self-sufficiency, on a run rate of 4.5 to 5 million ounces of silver a year, consistent head grades at the mill, more than 800 grams, and recognizing that on the exploration side, we have invested about 150,000 meters of drilling in this district over the last, 8 or 9 years. Of that, 120,000 has gone into infill drilling at Flame of Moth and Birmingham primarily. So we've done very little early stage exploration in this district. And so moving forward strategically, we're going to be looking to We're going to be looking to do more early stage exploration in the district, see if we can find more of these 40, 50, 60 plus million ounce ore deposits, silver ore deposits. We understand the geological environment in which they occur. And more importantly, we're going to be redoing our mine plan, hopefully adding to that these recent discoveries we've made, this 20 plus million ounces of additional resource that we now have at Birmingham. So they're going to be major issues moving forward in 2022.
Clint, thanks for sharing your story.
Thank you.
He's Clynton Nauman. He is CEO and chair of Alexco Resources. My name is Michael McRae, and you are watching Kitco Mining. Stay tuned. Let's learn a little bit more about Alexco Resources.
Welcome to the Invest Yukon virtual site tour for Alexco Resource Corp. My name is Clynton Nauman. I am the CEO of Alexco Resource Corp. We are the owners of the Keno Hill Silver District, which sits in the traditional territory of First Nation of Nuu-chah-nulth, and we're listed on the Toronto and New York Stock Exchange under the symbol AXU. Keno Hill is approximately 250 square kilometers of land that has traditionally been known as the Keno Hill Silver District since the early 1900s. The district producing more than 200 million ounces of silver through about 1980. This certainly has been one of the most rewarding experiences. And we eventually started with nothing in 2005 and 2006. And from that, we now have, in the indicated category, more than 75 million ounces of silver, plus another 25 plus in the inferred category. So we're very confident that, that resource base will continue to grow. The conversion of resources to reserves will also continue to grow. And at the end of the day, we've only looked at 10 or 15% of this entire very large district. So I would say the exploration upside is excellent. Keno Hill District is characterized by underground operations. We call them conventional cut and fill mining, where as underground drives are advanced into the ore body and through the ore body extracting ore blast by blast, essentially 100 tons per blast, and that ore is trucked to the surface and then taken to the mill. Developing both of these new ore bodies, Flame of Moth and Birmingham. And our plan is to scale this district up to 400 tons per day. Essentially, half of that ore will come from Flame of Moth deposit, an average grade of around 670 grams per ton at the mill. And the other half will come from the Birmingham deposit with a grade about 900 grams per ton silver. Plus, in both cases, anywhere between 5 and 7% combined base metals. And that'll put us on a run rate of about 4 million ounces of silver per year. And our current mine plan is about 1.1 million tons total that'll be mined over the next 7 or 8 years. And the average head grade will be around 800 grams per ton. The focus for 2021 clearly is to move this district from development to production. And we are midstream in that process at the present time, almost symmetrically, where we're processing 200 tons per day. We have a 400 ton per day mill. We're feeding ore from one of the new mines, not the other one. So we are midstream in this development process. And in the first quarter of 2022, we'll be up and running commercially from both new deposits at 400 tons per day. There's very few places in the world with, silver ore deposits of the tenor, and characteristics of this type. And so they're unique ore deposits. The scale is something that you have been to the district. You understand the scale of the district, that it is very large. The metal budget, is huge. You have silver occurring at these very high grades in mines that are stretched over nearly 30 kilometers in a longitudinal sense. And so there is a huge amount of precious metal, silver in this case, that has been distributed in this district, and we've barely scratched the surface of it. That, and you have to give credit to the exploration people. They, like I say, started with nothing, and here we are sitting at 100 million ounces in the ground in all categories, and hopefully it's going to get larger. So you're seeing some of our people around in the company regard what we're doing now as a starter project, and that as time goes on, exploration continues to be successful, that you'll see a continuing uplift in the productivity, performance, and profitability of our district.